Piece of paper. And we are live. Hello, everybody. So this is take 2. But yeah, this is something that we're going to do. It's going to take 26 weeks roughly because there's technically 27 episodes, but one is just a cool recap episode that doesn't really have anything in it. It just shows some stills and them drawing the animation. It is awesome and you should watch it. But this is called Fresh Takes. We were doing something because we obviously can't review movies because the world took a crapper. I can go see them. Mike's situation, a little bit different.
Yeah, unfortunately, being a New Yorker and all.
Yeah, but this is something that we can do. It is a concept that we will carry on. This won't be the only thing that we do of it. So it'll cover anime, anything, whatever, as long as one of us has an intense interest. What the idea is, one of us is very close to something, has a very high opinion on it. The other one has either not seen it or seen it and barely remembers it, as in this situation. As you can see, we are going to be talking about Gurren. Kind of a fan. Keep the core drill around me at all times. It's on my neck and it's on my keyring. This is a series that me, as a person that suffers from extreme anxiety and have real bad, what I want to say, confidence issues, anybody that knows the main core aesthetic of this series would know why this means a lot to me. I originally saw it in, it was either 2008 or 2009. It originally aired over here on the Sci-Fi Network, weirdly enough, because they were into anime for a little bit then, and then I watched it through legal or not so legal means until around 2000, I believe it was in 2013, it finally got on Netflix, and then I watched it on there. But I've seen it at least once a year until then because it means the world to me. And hate me or not, I watched the English because Kyle Ebert, Yuri Lowenthal, and I can't remember what Yoko's voice actress is, but she also voices Jill Valentine in Resident Evil Revelations, and she's amazing. I will look her name up while we're talking. But
I got it. It's Michelle Ruff.
Thank you very much. Those three carry this, along with a character we'll be talking about in the second episode, voiced by Steve Bloom, who's one of my favorite characters in animation ever.
Oh, I can't wait to. If that's who I think it is, then I cannot wait to talk about. I'll call them.
Yeah. Oh, it is exactly who you're thinking about, and yeah, Steve does an amazing job voicing them. We're a little bit of both, honey. Oh, I love him so much. But anyway, we'll get to that in a bit. You're going to notice a trend. Normally, as it starts, every 2 episodes, me and Mike are going to dress very similarly because it would take us 27 weeks to do all these episodes. We're going to record 2 at a night starting out. Might do more later, but in case you're wondering, like, those guys never changed their clothes. That's why. But all the admin work out of the way, Mike, what is your history with Gurren?
Okay, so my history with Gurren Lagan is a little bit more on the casual side. I was aware of it just kind of like through cultural osmosis in like the late 2000s when I was like starting one of my big anime phases, but I didn't really catch the series itself until it started playing on Toonami in, I think it was 2013.
That would make sense. It's right around when Netflix got it too, so that's probably when they got more of their syndication.
Yeah. Yep. So that's when I started to see a little bit more of it, but I never actually finished the series. So if this is why I'm glad to do our first series of fresh takes on an anime that in hindsight means a lot more to me now than it probably would have back then, because on my podcast Tuned Up, my co-host Cameron and I have really taken a love for Studio Trigger, which this show pretty much has like all of the old Gainax alumni.
Yep.
Pretty much founded Studio Trigger through this series.
Exactly. And a little side note, I didn't realize this actually until I looked into some stuff with my buddy Chris, who will get into some funny stuff. My buddy Chris had the most terrible time watching the show because he messaged me about his hopes and dreams about stuff after the very wrong episodes and right before the very wrong episodes. But apparently they put all their heart and soul into this at the very end of the episode, like towards the end, like you guys will see, and I'll talk about this with Mike, obviously. At the beginnings of Gurren, they didn't quite have their budget fully available to them, and then they got about 200 times their budget toward the end, especially in the movie, which Mike won't see because it doesn't stream anywhere, but I will just send him the clip of the very final version of Gurren, and I will send you the math on how big they say it is, because it's stupid. It is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in an anime.
I will keep that in mind.
Okay, all right. But apparently they could not have made another episode of Gurren as they were going, or they would have went broke. Supposedly. Because of how much money they were putting in towards the end. And you'll see why. But all right, that we will get toward the end, because I do not want to talk about how ridiculously amazing this show gets in size, scale, and everything until then. We will talk with Humble Beginnings now with a little episode called Thrust Through the Heavens with Your Drill. It's a perfect opening. Mike, I will let you say more because obviously you're the one getting the fresh take on it.
Okay, so here's the plot according to Wikipedia. In Jiha Village, an underground town, Simone and Kamina live mundane lives with the constant threat of earthquakes. During an attempt to escape to the surface, something almost unheard of, Kamina and Simone bear witness to a gigantic wolf-laced gunman as it crashes through the ceiling into the middle of their subterranean home. Together with the gunman's pursuer, a girl from the neighboring village, Yoko, the two young men find the key, a small gunman buried deep in the ground named Lagan by Kamina, and literally out of the blue.
Just the simplest way. This anime has two amazingly cool things that are anime tropes that I love, and they do it the best in the very last episode, and I'll get into it, obviously, but part of it is the fact that he names this thing Lagan, and we'll get to that later. But just, how are we going to come up with a really cool name? How about we just have Kamina come up with both of them?
Yep.
No logic or reason, just sure.
Yeah, so, all right, so the two men find the key and the small gunman buried in the ground, to both defeating the massive intruder and leaving Jiha Village. So yeah, my first impressions of this as a pilot, it's perfect. It's everything you need to set up our main heroes, of which we only meet like 3. The rest are like just the people in the village, who are like varying levels of important.
One you get to see. Honestly, this is not a spoiler. I am burning my brain. I think you only see one of them after this episode, outside of Yoko Kamina and Simone.
Like I said, varying degrees of importance.
Exactly. But go ahead.
But as far as like introducing who these characters are, what they want, and what exactly the threat is, this is like it's a good tease for what's to come. And so I've been told what's to come is mind-blowing.
I will say, you will get people. I do not try to talk with hyperbole when I speak about this show, because it means the world to me. And it is pretty much, what did Brock want in an anime? Outside of having outside of having a little bit of splash of Zoids, you pretty much got everything I've ever wanted. But anyway, what I was going to say was one of the main things that I like in a story format is humble beginnings for your main character, who I won't say much, but they kind of pull some switches here to who actually the main people are, and they do it very well. But as we go along, this is incredibly humble compared to what you get to see. You have a fight in a probably 100-foot tall cave with a gunman that can barely make 20-degree turns, with a guy which their starting arsenal is an energy rifle and a katana. And then they get a gunman that is about the size of the toe of the gunman that they're fighting.
When I first saw that gunman, I was just thinking of MODOK, but as a mech.
Exactly.
He's Mecha MODOK.
Exactly. A lot cooler in my opinion, but he looks that its structure and everything, it's identical, especially with the brain casing, the canopy. Mm-hmm. But anyway, before we get too far into that, because that's the end of the episode, but it's just again, me with confidence issues and I had a very hard time making friends because of some situations I made in earlier. Kamina and Simone to me are just the best. All throughout this entire episode, Kamina is just the episode starts out with Simone walking with his head down because some girls were insulting him because God forbid he's a hard worker. And he just walks into Kamina. And you brought it up the last time we saw this, it makes it seem like they just meet each other.
Yeah.
When they first talk, but then it kicks it to, no, he's known me. And they use that kind of as a, dude, we've gone over this. I am not your friend. I am your brother, and you will refer to me as such. I love you, man. Come on. It's the dialogue, everything's just great. And Kamina never, ever stops believing in him. Up to the point of where they find the gunman, and he's here. He's basically ripping the cordial off his chest. He's just dude, fight this, you can go kill him. Just no, you're going to sit your ass in this mech. We're going to start it, and I'm going to watch you proud as a big bro as you butcher that thing. That's what's going to happen. And we'll see into the second episode why it works the way and why it does. And it's why one of my favorite mechs in all of anime, because it's dumb anime logic put into their world of science. And it shockingly makes a lot of sense by the time it gets forward. And it's just, it manifests a drill, which by the time this thing is over is the most perfect metaphor for a person moving in their life as ever. And Yuri Lowenthal screams a motto that I love every day. And it's back on that poster there. And I won't say it because it's a giant spoiler, but it's just, man, it's so good. And can we just say, we'll get into it, that you said it earlier, the people they have picked for the voices for these people are just the best.
Mm-hmm. I've already been a fan of Kyle Hebert because of Dragon Ball Z, that whole universe. So when I heard him voicing Kamina for the first time, I just knew instantly he was going to be a favorite character. Yep. And just speaking on the relationship between Simone and Kamina, I've had friendships like that before where your friend is just putting all of their energy into your success.
Mm-hmm. It's the best kind of friendships you can have.
Of course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want anything else.
Exactly. It's just and then Yuri Lowenthal, he's just good at everything he is. For the people that don't watch anime that often, or if you're gamers, recently you would know Yuri Lowenthal because he voices Spider-Man in the PS4 version. And he does it magically. And you'll hear that more as the show goes along. I can't speak about why because it's a spoiler, but you'll hear Yuri a lot more as it goes on. Yeah. Oh, man, and you get the backstory about his dad, the simple beginnings of what these people want. I cannot go over enough about how this thing is about simple beginnings. One just wants to dig tunnels because he likes digging tunnels and it makes him feel important. One wants to go to the surface because he just wants to go meet the place where his dad got to see when they were younger. Yoko wants to kill gunmen because they hate them. And one of the best bonding moments, and we'll get into it in episode 2 because it's one of my favorite moments in the episode, is leading into it. You get to see that Kamina is a digger despite the fact that his parents got killed by an earthquake. And Kamina remembers that, and I have a feeling that he met him not long after the earthquake because I don't think I don't know Simone's exact age in the show. I assume Kamina is in his early 20s, if not 18. There's I've never gotten confirmed by anybody, but there's always numbers that's thrown around that supposedly Yoko is 14 in this show, and I don't believe that for my life of me. But it's anime, so she could be.
Okay, according to Wikipedia, Simone is introduced as a 14-year-old.
14-year-old. Okay. All right. That sounds about right, I guess.
I agree with you that I do not think that Yoko is the same age.
No. No, not at all.
And not just because in anime, all women are depicted with like fan service to the 11th degree.
Yeah, and that's what you think Kyoko is at first, because she is. Because what is the show initially and still at the heart of it, but it moves away from it to be a more positive message show towards the end? It's a parody. At the start, it is a hardcore parody of what mech animes are. You have the two common people, the Nutsy kid, their version of getting the mech Shinji from freaking Evangelion. You've got the big badass and they make fun of it so much in the second episode, we'll get to it, but calling out before you're going to attack somebody, like when she's about to shoot the power conduits and he has to let him know he's about to go down, and she gets so pissy with him, she's just like, why are you doing that? Stop it. And it's just... I love it. It calls out all the stuff, and we'll get more into that with Yoko later. But yeah, and we don't want to say exactly every line because we're going at 15 minutes now, and the show is about only 20 minutes an episode. But yeah, it's like Mike said, this is a perfect intro. It does as little as possible, and it sets up a lot. And at the end, they finally get that great moment where they finally see this gloriously animated spinning shot of the sun, of the horizon and the sun and everything, and just blank desert. It's so pretty. That I can say, I have basically the version of the first time they see the surface there, minus their clothes are a little bit different, but it's just, it's so good. And then you get to see the threat as soon as they're done, and it cuts. They didn't try too hard, just a perfect setup to try and get their grounding, and it was good. Is there anything, I want to try and ask this anything, because obviously it's a show that I think is perfect, so I'm not going to say anything is that bad in it. There is some stuff later on, I will say. But is there anything you wish that bugged you, or how they did anything in the episode?
I'm kind of hard-pressed to find like any serious flaws. I think really the only thing I can say is anyone who isn't Simone, Kamina, or Yoko, I didn't really care for, but
that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Because like I said, you see one of them, and I want to say it's 20 episodes later.
The fact that you can't even remember just kind of like validates that as a criticism.
Yeah, and that person is only in the episode, I want to say, for like 2 minutes. So it's just like, you got the people on the pilot you needed. Let's go. But all right, and like just for you and admin later, we're going to be chopping this later, so I'll just go whatever. But little secret at home, we're not doing these in parallels. We're just doing two separate ones to make it easier on me for editing. But all right, that's basically the first one. This went worlds better than the first time. I was super nervous because we finally got to do this, and then I made a freaking connective error for where I had to send the file and all that stuff. But wonders of technology, we got to do it again. It's all good. And we're going to be recording the second episode in a little bit. Most likely, this won't air the weekend that I want to say, and I'm not going to say what weekend it airs, so you don't see how much I had to wait. But we have a really cool thing coming that I want to air with this. So if anything, you might see the first episode go up without it, but after that, we will have it for sure. So everybody, Mike, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at CaptainK42. Check out all my quick thought reviews on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And look for me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. I also host a couple of podcasts on the Renegade Pop Culture podcast feed. We're available on Anchor and Spotify, and also our website, renegadepopculture.com, which you'll most likely find this series on there as well.
You will, as soon as I get it to Keanu, because I know he wants it to get some content up on there. And I just did the second, if you're up for some long podcasts, there's been two separate X-Men retrospective podcasts. We just did the last one of that. I think they're each over 3 hours long. So buckle up. They're good, but they're long. A lot of movies to cover. You can find me at everywhere at Organoid Zero. I mostly do Twitch. I'm really close to getting affiliate, really close. But yeah, This is a great time. I'm so glad we're finally doing this. Like I said, this won't be specifically just for anime or whatever. It'll just be one of us has an intense interest and loves it, and the other one is not very familiar. So we're kind of just sharing our love through the other person to get them experience something that we like. If they don't like it, that's fine. It's good to have different opinions through whatever. It's just getting different opinions. I always thought would be a cool idea on something like that. So until next time, and I'm only going to say it for this one, you guys, spin on. We'll see you later.